Hey, you, it's Rachel. I wanted to share this particular episode today because I had a conversation recently in my trip to Tulum, Mexico, around how you can think about what you want to do next. This conversation is with Davis Nguyen, and we talk about everything from getting stuck, feeling like you don't know what to do next, and why it matters to get support. This conversation is for anyone who's ever thought, I know something needs to change, but I'm not sure what. We talk about burnout, self doubt, career decisions, and why some of the smartest people we know struggle to trust themselves when the stakes feel high. I also share this journey of hitting the wall at Google, discovering what sometimes the breakthroughs can be when we're looking for something, and it doesn't come from pushing harder. It comes from creating the space to hear ourselves again. I hope you enjoy it.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their. Before Purple Circle, I've grown several 7- and 8-figure career coaching businesses myself, and have been a consultant at 2 career coaching businesses that are doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or building your practice for the first time, welcome back to another episode of the podcast here. I'm so excited about today because we have a returning guest, Rachel Omer, who was on the show late last year. And she's probably one of my favorite guests that we've had on the show. And not because we ended up working together after the show, but just you were so genuine on your episode. And it's actually, I still think one of our most requested episodes when people reach out and like, hey, which episodes are like very heartwarming, you don't have to be scripted. It was like, yeah, send Rachel's episode. There's no reason not to. So I'm so excited because obviously we're here at the Purple Circle Retreat. This is your second one. And I just love just everything about you. And I love the fact that even you saw yesterday when we closed out, so many people thank you for just your energy, and those who attended the breath work that you did on the first day. Amazing. So I just want to say first off, really appreciate you being in the Purple Circle community in general.
Thank you. I really appreciate what you're sharing. And yeah, I was surprised and touched that I got that feedback, because I just think I just show up and all of a sudden there's a lot of feedback how radiant I am. And I'm like, but I'm just doing my thing. Like, I'm just showing up.
Literally, I think probably 40-50% of the room gave you a shout out on the last day for Rachel just being you. And I think that's the magical part, is that, well, for those who haven't watched your first episode, who don't know you through Purple Circle, is what kind of coaching do you do? Because it'll transition.
Okay. Yeah. So I work with high achieving tech leaders who want to get out of overwhelm and self-doubt so that they can be more confident and make their next career moves, whether it's a promotion, a new job, getting a job, learning about how they could have a different type of role. That's really what they need to know.
And the thing we talked about too is your ideal client. They're the people that you work with. They're often the opposite, right? They feel like they have to go into a meeting, they have to be over prepared, and they overthink everything as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. All of the folks who I help, these high achievers, type A's, super, super smart people who are very driven. And so they've spent their whole lives making decisions, analyzing everything, thinking about the next step. Is this the best move? Is there other things to do? Could I figure it out myself? Can there be multiple solutions? And so that's, I think, just the way people think when we get to that higher level of what we're doing.
Yeah, and that comes from a place of personal experience too, as well. Because it's funny is that when I read your bio, if anyone reads your bio, obviously there's Rachel before and after she became a coach. It's like, you've been there. You know exactly what it feels like. Well,
Yeah.
For those who haven't seen the first episode, like what was that journey like for you personally? As in, obviously this comes from a place of personal experience, not just like, one day I'm just gonna wake up, I'm just gonna coach people. I don't.
No, yeah, that is definitely not what happened to me. And I the last thing I actually expected was to be a coach. So for me, I was working in tech. I worked at Google for 13 years, and I was always, as everyone is, and I think high performance jobs, going for whatever achievements we could. So pushing to the next level, working hard, going over details, scrutinizing things. And for me, I hit a wall. And my manager literally told me that I might want to consider doing something else because I wasn't performing at a level that was expected. And for me, what that was I had just lost touch with what I wanted or who I was actually. And I had no training in coaching, no training in mindfulness or emotional intelligence, nothing, but I was a great achiever. I had an MBA, like a lot of my clients. I worked at Google, one of like the top rated company. I was a national rowing champion. And so I pushed myself. I was really, really driven, which I think really resonates with who I work with. And yet I was failing. So I'd hit a wall. I felt like I was in a mental tailspin and I had no idea why. I couldn't for the life of me figure out what was going wrong because all I did was just keep trying harder. So anyway, I took a 3-month unpaid break. I did go back to Google. I wasn't sure I would, but I did go back because what I realized was I just really wasn't present. I wasn't understanding what it meant to be in my feelings and know what I wanted. I couldn't express if I felt angry or fear or sad or just something that wasn't sitting comfortably with me. And so that set me on a whole new journey to start to do things that really brought me more joy at work. And everything changed from there. And I started hosting speakers at Google in the YouTube authors program. Maybe you've heard of that.
Yes.
A lot of mindfulness speakers. And one of them invited me to their weekend training and pretty much decided like, wow, I really need some more help. And I don't think I can get there by myself because it was a whole new world to me.
I love that. So hang on to it. Is that a coach came into your life and obviously it just clicked, but there's a moment there where obviously you thought about you're overanalyzing everything. As someone who also has wrote, and I'm like, wow, it is hard. You really have to focus, and you're also overanalyzing like, how's everyone else? Am I in rhythm? Am I at the right setting? Is the cognitive? And of course, but the thing you mentioned was that you just went in. You decided just to go into the coaching. Like, you know, this aha moment for me. As in, what switch that made you feel?
I know, and it was hard. Like I won't say I wasn't thinking a lot about it and deliberating or hem and hawing, like not sure what to do. So for me, it was being open to what could be different for myself. And I saw that when I was at the training or speaking to my mentors. And then I started to think about what would it be like for me if I actually had those qualities, if I had those skills, what could be different? And it was almost like too good to be true for me. And so I felt like if I don't do this, and it was super scary, by the way, I'd never invested in myself like that. And I was like, I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea what it would be like. I just trusted the fact that maybe things can change, maybe things can be different if I thought a little differently.
I love that because we often talk about this too, is that as coaches, a lot of the people that we want to work with, our potential clients, they're also stuck in that rut, right? And they're overanalyzing. And of course, you see all these clients, these people who are these high achievers who eventually achieve it. And one of the things they have is that decisive. And obviously you coach people towards that.
Yeah.
And I'd love to know, as in, so what is the cost actually of someone who has to wait, who every week they're not working with you, like, I can transform real life.
Yeah. Well, this is a great question. It's a conundrum, I think, too, because one of the things that I help people with is imposter syndrome or feeling like they're doubting themselves. So automatically you're thinking it's not going to work or it's not going to, you're deliberating or not thinking if it would be the way to go.
Yeah.
And what I like to think about is like, what is that cost to you? What is the price that you're paying? And when I think about the clients that I serve, that's the irony because everyone is so smart. Everyone is so driven. They could literally do anything that they wanted to do. And because they're not clear with how they might see things differently, because they're just analyzing and thinking things through over and over again, almost like analysis paralysis, or they've been so good and smart, they think they can figure it out by themselves, that they don't. Like they just stay in that pattern. So weeks, like days turn into weeks, turns into months, and then 3 months go by or 4 months go by and nothing's really different. And then they're wondering why they can't make those decisions. They don't know which career to take, whether it's maybe a manager role versus a senior individual contributor, or if they should leave or start their new just dream startup. And that feels really challenging. And also I feel really sad because I can see me in them. I can see how I really was scared because I was like, who is that person going to be who said yes? And now I look back, years later, I'm like, oh man, my whole life changed because I took a chance on me, basically.
I love that. I love how you said that. Like your whole life changed because you took a chance on yourself. And it is amazing, right? So when people think about investing in coaching or any programs, any self-development, whoever it may be, it's like they think about, yes, there's the money, but like the money's going to come and go anyways. Like you're going to earn the money.
Yeah.
But the same problems that you have every night is like those indecisions that keep you up at night, worrying about, is this the right path for me? What am I supposed to be doing? And of course, we see that in Purple Circle as well, or people who think about joining and they're like, I don't know if this is for me. And it's like, it's a lot of money, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And of course, months down the road, like nothing changes because you didn't change anything about yourself, right?
Right.
And of course, you're a great example of that, of someone who has changed themselves. But I'd love to know, like, you've worked with so many clients at this point. Like, was there a client that you worked with, you're like, who went back and just said, wow, I'm so glad I worked with you, Rachel, because you helped me through all this, and
Yeah.
they were an overthinker?
Yeah. Well, it reminds me, isn't there a book called that? Like Nothing Changes Until You Do. I know
Yes,
there's a book out there. Go find that book. I don't know. I don't remember what it is, but it's like the whole summary of what we're talking about. And I also say like what got you here won't get you there a lot. And I think about someone who just finished the program that I have, who really wasn't sure, super senior consultant, like someone after your own heart, and wanted to potentially go into her own thing. She wasn't really sure, but for her, she said yes. She was excited to try something different. And she had nothing on her radar to take a break. Like that wasn't anything we had talked about. But because she learned that she can lean into how she can show up for herself, and that's what we cover, is how do you trust yourself again? How do you know to believe in what you really want and get clear on what you want? And so she wanted to take a break. So the irony is, I wrote a book called Pause, and she realized she needed a pause, but she didn't really know that until she even took a break, because she didn't think she deserved it. And she learned that she can deserve it, and she does deserve it because she's worth it. And to me, that was just gold, because everyone's worth it if we can actually see that. But sometimes it's really hard to see that because we're just pushing and pushing harder and working harder because that's what we've been taught and that's what we know. But the reality is we're just not valuing ourselves in the way that we could, because we're thinking we got to prove ourselves. But the reality is you don't have to prove yourself, because you are worth it no matter what. And I like to think that I can be a guide to help get someone there.
Exactly. I love that. So I've learned to say this to describe the same scenario, which is that oftentimes we're working, right? But we have blind spots. But more, the analogy I found that has landed really well is that it's kind of like we have a nose in front of our mouth, but we still need someone to tell us that we have bad breath.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like you can't see it from yourself. So you need to be able to have that. And you're a great example of that. And of course, you don't just tell your clients and potential clients to do this. You actually do it yourself as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so after the podcast, obviously we got introduced, and you're like, hey, tell me about Purple Circle. And then you jumped right in, and you're like, hey, let's go through. What's that? When you were jumping in, were you also hesitant yourself in terms of what you were thinking? It's like, oh, should I work with Davis and his team? Or was like, oh, no. What was that like in your own mind now that you've gone through the whole training?
Well, yeah. And what was funny was, and I think this is true for a lot of us, like I wasn't looking for anything.
Yeah.
I was simply, and I'd had other trainings up until then. And so it was like the last thing on my mind. But as I listened to what the possibilities were again, and it kind of clicked for me, like, oh yeah, I need more processes. I don't have XYZ, and you do, and I actually do want that. But I know from experience, because now I've been on the journey and had coaches, that I can get there faster. I can get there easier. I can be more supportive. Like, why would I not do that? And to me, that was the no-brainer part of saying yes to Purple Circle.
I love that. And just so people, your audience and everyone knows too, that you invest in yourself, what have been some of the results that you've gotten that you're like, you know what, I'm so glad I did this, because this is what it was a year for me versus where I am right now?
Yeah. So it was also a different type of coaching. I hadn't had specifically the things that I was learning in Purple Circle either, like the processes and understanding how to create leads and things like that. So what it's been like, is that the question?
Yeah, I was like, what's different for you in your business life, your personal
Oh
life?
boy. Okay. Well, first of all, I have sales calls and leads every week. Wow, what a concept. I think one of the hardest things we learn is how to create sustainable businesses. And for someone who wrote a book about being sustained and self-aware, I don't want to be working in stops and starts. And I think for me, what Purple Circle has created is a consistent flow of not just the leads, but the sales. So I've revamped my program. It's 6 months long, and now I have a steady stream of people who are going into it and feeling like it's the best it's ever been. And I'm having fun. Like I love doing the things that I'm doing right now with regards to building my business. It's actually cool to see it be growing like this.
I love it too. And I remember we're at the retreat and I slightly saw you replying back to some leads when I was walking back doing one to exercise. I'm like, Rachel, right thing to do here. Get back to your leads.
I'm like, if I don't get those leads done, they're going to be piling up and then my program is going to be like not as efficient. Yes.
It is. It's like, it's one of the aha moments, right? It's like when I first started my coaching business, not for Circle, but my career coaching business, I was like, oh, where are the referrals coming in? Should I refresh my inbox? And then you hit an inflection point when you finally get the systems and processes, and let's say you need leads, and you go in and you're like, oh my gosh, I need to reply back to them or they're going to disappear because then it can start stockpiling. And of course, you're about to continue your trip after the retreat as well. So I love that. I of course, I make a joke about it. Like, look, guys, we all have clients, we have leads, take care of them because results over revenue, just make sure that they're taken care of. And it's just such a great example of that. But I'm going to give you your credit too, because there's a couple of things that make you such an ideal coach for your clients, but also just a member of Purple Circle here is that one, you just have this humility. Like you're always trying to learn. Like even in your thank yous when you were just shouting out people, you're like, thank you for teaching me this. Thank you for showing me this. It's like you have this learner's mindset that you're always trying to get better. Like someone who has your pedigree, who's worked over a decade in Google, who's done all the things, done all the training, done all the self-work, might just walk around saying, I got the answers. But you just have this open mind, like you just want to know what else is out there, and you're like, you know what, this is my part of the world, but there's just so much I haven't explored. So I think that's it, right? So there's so many people who come in and they have all these conceptions of what success can look like, but they haven't gotten it. So it's like your open-mindedness is one. And second, you just go in. Like when you commit to something, you're just like, go in. Hey, I made this decision. I'm gonna go through. Even yesterday, you're like, Dave, when's the next retreat? I'm in. I was like, oh wow, okay, well,
I'm already signing up now.
And then third is that you find a way to always, business and everything else is like ups and downs, but you always find yourself going through. And I remember it was like there was a period when you're like, I gotta travel all these places, but don't worry, we're gonna see you go through. And I'm looking at the WhatsApp message between you and Coach Marco, and I'm just like, man, Rachel's making it happen. Like whatever Rachel puts her mind to, she just does it. And of course, I see that in your client testimonials. I see that in the conversations you have about, hey, this client's done. I want to continue to work with them. What else is there? Because they want to work with me. And it's like, you're just a great example of what happens when someone does invest in themselves. Someone does realize that there's a gap, but also you just go in and like, literally.
Thank you. I'm taking that in because I think that is important. And I think I've reached a few moments where I'm like, maybe I am done, right? Like, because we don't know. How do you know? But I think my big reality lesson is that you can choose to keep going wherever you are, and there's always going to be something you can benefit from. And I think commitment, that's what you're talking about, is commitment is a skill. Like it's not something I think that comes easily. I was not always like that. I was always someone with one foot in and one foot out the back door. And now I've learned that if I just go all in and trust that it's okay and I put myself into it, then I can succeed. I will succeed. There's no way I can fail if I am all in.
Exactly. And as long as you have the right trusted advisors who you do to be able to guide the way, because one of the things you mentioned, like the biggest insight you had was like, wow, a year ago, I was like, well, I have all this time and now I have all these clients, these marketing, these sales calls, these coaching calls, these leads coming in. And of course, the next thing is, how do we amplify Rachel? And so I'm excited for the next phase where we built this, now that we've solved for the leads and the sales, it's like, well, let's get the operations so that you're removed from the day to day.
Yeah.
And my excitement is that next year you'll still have more leads and things like that. You'll have team, like don't get me wrong, like we had other members who had to go take team calls during the retreat. But my goal is that, well, you're not alone and you're like, you have this abundance coming in. So I'm so excited.
I love that vision for me. Thank you. And I really appreciate that because it doesn't have to be hard. Like it doesn't have to be a lot of struggle if you create that sense of abundance and ease for yourself. And that's personally like a goal of mine. And so I love that you just reflected that back to me. Thank you.
Of course, sometimes again, like I said, like we have spinach in our teeth, but we have to say sometimes I'll wake up, I'm like, oh yeah, I need that mirror to tell me that that's my stuff from last night. And so that's I'm just so excited for all the lives that you're going to touch. And I'm so excited for where you're headed. And of course, continue to work as well. And here's a question, like, what advice would you have for a coach? Because a year ago when you came in, you mentioned, you're like, I have a business, but leads are inconsistent, or referrals. I'm not quite sure what my offer is. What kind of sales process? I have all these systems. I'm like, I'm just walking around in the world there. What advice would you have for that, Rachel, and others who might be in that same situation?
So good. I think my advice would be to literally pause, just kind of take a breath and assess, like just what's working, what's not working. So you can get clear on maybe things that you can change, that you want to shift in a way that that's working better for me, it was like you're saying, like I wanted more consistency in my business. I didn't want to have like droughts and then like feasts and famines. And to me, that's important to think about for how I can show up in ways that really support that. But if I don't pause and I'm not clear, and that's why I really love my book and what I did, because it's a skill as well, then I just keep going and I'm spinning and I don't know how to shift it. And I think all of us experience that and we know what that is like. And it doesn't have to be like that. But unless we really take that moment to intentionally shift our behavior, then it's really hard. And so I'm glad that we met. I'm glad you invited me on your podcast. And here we are.
I'm really glad too. It's like the universe, God, had put us together and just it was like the right timing. I've loved every interaction with you, having with you, and of course our connections to Florida and also California and everything else in between.
Yeah.
It just felt like, it felt like we were both meditating and the
You
universe
knew
was like,
people,
exactly,
coaches, like, it's pretty wild.
And it's funny because, exactly. And you're going to be going to a Googler who's also in Purple Circle and you're going to be going to his retreat. It's like the universe just put us together in the right time and the right place. And it was just beautiful.
Yeah, I love it.
And I'm so excited. And I think one of the things too is that you really do live what you say, which is your book, Paul's, obviously is about, hey, before we continue running, let's figure out what do we want? How do we have this sustainable career? How do we have this sustainable life, a sustainable business? And you do such a great example of that. And literally right after this, that's why we're going to make sure you get to it. You're literally taking a tour of the ruins right after this because you're like, you know what? I could be working, but I also want to have a sustainable life. And so I'm excited for that. I'm excited for the photos you're going to send too.
Yeah. Thank you. And I'm excited because I learned that because I burned out, because I went the hard way and I kept pushing and like going through the motions. And there's a point where that just can work maybe short term, but then long term it doesn't. And so who am I if I'm not doing that? Like I can't stand in my shoes and say, pause or like do something different if I'm not doing that. So I want to be the example. And thank you for sharing that you see that in me, because I think it's really hard to do that. And it's not the norm yet, but that's my mission. My mission is to help people know that that's totally doable. You just have to learn the skills.
And you're doing fantastic with that. And so obviously I'm going to link to your best-selling book here, Paul's there, but if people want to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to contact?
So my website is rachelomera.com. I'm on LinkedIn too, Rachel O'Mara. And just go ahead. You can listen to my podcast, The Pausecast.
I love that.
And I feature great tips in how you can get more clear, great guests, and all of that's on my website. So check that out.
We'll make sure that happens, Rachel. So I'm excited, and I'm excited for the next update as well. And I'm excited just everything else that you're doing, because what you're doing with the pause and everything, more people need to have it, especially those of you who are in your position, because I already see you as someone who was that coach who came into your life and just transformed everything else for the rest of your life. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah. And I have a free gift on my website, the 3 keys to turn burnout into thriving at work. So another example is, I think when someone is struggling to feel clear, like there's just a decision that they want to make, but they don't think they know how to make it because they haven't been there yet. So of course, how would you know? And I think that's a common culprit of feeling like you can't make a decision and staying stuck. And I just want to speak to that a little bit, because that's actually one of the reasons why coaching can help and support you. If you're thinking about not knowing what the next step is, coaching can help you get clear on that. I think that one of them, I don't know if you find this, but a misconception I think around signing up or saying yes to support is that you're not clear yet. So if you're not clear yet, how is someone else going to help you? But that's actually the reality is, that's exactly why you can join coaching and get support, because if you're not clear, I can help you get clear. I can help you understand what scenarios might be, how to make decisions better, how you can think about what could be different, things that you wouldn't necessarily think about yourself. And I know I've worked with clients who did say yes to me because they weren't clear, but they knew they would probably stay unclear if they didn't get help, which I really admire, because that's like that's courage. It takes courage and a strength to say, you know what, I don't know this now and may not never know this unless I get some help and support. And I think that's a common issue with a lot of really super smart, intelligent people, in that we think we can figure it out on our own or just wait until the stars align because they will get there somehow. But the reality is they won't get there. They can't get there unless we understand what's important to us, how we understand what we need and want. And I think that takes other times support that we don't necessarily think about.
Exactly. It's the idea that, for example, when we feel something is wrong with our body, we'll go to the doctor. We don't hesitate about that. We'll get everything to take care of it. But when something's wrong up here, we feel like, oh, we can take care of ourselves. And yet every other part of our body, everything else, we figure out an expert who's been there and done that and save us so much time. Or worse, there's something that's actually plaguing us that we can easily solve. And so I love that analogy. It's like, that's exactly what we do for people. And that's what you do for your clients. And they know something is wrong, but if they could have solved it themselves, they would have solved it already. And I love the fact that your clients, when they come to you, they might not have the answer, but by the time they work with you, they do get the answer.
Yeah. And they're just trusting that one foot in front of the other. That's really all I'm asking for, is just to trust the process, have some faith in the process, because it's really challenging if you don't know where you're being led. And that's okay. Because how would we know? We don't know. And unless we put that next foot forward, then we just stay stuck. We just don't move in the ways that we want or could, or go as fast or do all the things that we want to do.
Love that. We'll link to that as well.
So you start
Rachel,
that.
thank you.
Thank you.
That's it for this episode of Career Coaching Secrets. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this episode to catch future episodes. This podcast was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, or even $100,000 weeks, all without burning out and making sure that you're making the impact and having the life that you want. To learn more about our community and how we can help you, visit joinpurplecircle.com.